Good morning, everyone. The January 19th, 2021 meeting of the Charter Authorizing Panel is called to order. I'd like to say hello to everyone this morning and thank you for being here. Panel members, we have 2 items on the consent agenda. If you'll take a moment to look at those. We have our panel minutes from December 15th and December 16th, and also consideration of the 2021 charter application forms and timeline. If you'll look those over, and if you have any discussion or if you're ready for a motion.
I'll move approval of both the minutes and the proposed application timeline.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Baldwin and a second by Ms. Newton to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Passes unanimously. Action agenda item 1, Ms. Webb.
Good morning. The River Valley Virtual Academy is a district conversion charter school in the Van Buren School District. The charter was approved in 2016 and serves students in grades K-12. The district is requesting an amendment to relocate the existing campus. Today we have Jennifer Feeney, the school coordinator, Nancy Robbins, director of elementary curriculum, and I believe the superintendent, Dr. Harold Jeffcoat, is also on the Zoom.
Good morning, team. If you will raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Dr. Jeffcoat, you've got 20 minutes. I don't expect it'll take 20, but if you'd like to introduce your plan of action.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate you having us this morning, and I hope it doesn't take 20 minutes. We are simply requesting permission to relocate our virtual academy. When we started our virtual academy, we started it in our freshman academy. So we had a section, an area towards the end of our building that was available for use, and a couple of classrooms. And so we made that space part of our virtual academy. That's where we were housed, and we are currently housed. About 2 years ago, we purchased a local gym, cardio studio, a nice, beautiful facility, a little over 10,000 square feet. And we converted that space to become a professional development center. But we also allocated a large section of that space to the west. We did that for our virtual academy. We knew that we were going to be expanding, and we knew that we would grow in numbers. And that, in fact, has happened. As most schools have grown in their virtual academies this year. And so we are now looking at making that transition where we move our virtual academy to our new location. I have Jennifer Feeney with us this morning. She is our coordinator for the virtual academy and does a phenomenal job building that program and ensuring that our students that are enrolled in our virtual academy are provided the very best education. She does a great job. As you can see, if you look at our accountability report, we've had a letter grade of an A each year that we've been open. She just does a phenomenal job. I believe this last semester, even with the huge increase in numbers, we still had a 93% success rate, which is phenomenal. And I appreciate her very much for what she's done. Nancy Robbins is our curriculum director. She's been very instrumental in building the program from the ground up and helping us get to where we are today. But our program has been very successful. It has grown. We have a large number, as you can see, large number of students that are enrolled, and having our location, having the ability to relocate to this new location will just allow us to better meet the needs of our students. Jennifer, Nancy, anything that you'd like to add?
I don't think I have any.
Okay.
All right. We'll hear from Ms. Hyatt. Do you have any questions? No concerns or questions? All right. Panel members, let's start with you. Dr. Williams?
Sorry, I was on mute. Just a quick question for you. This is, this makes perfect sense to me. I really don't have. How many students are you all currently serving, and how many this will allow you to serve?
So initially, we had permission to serve 325 students, and then we started this school year meeting with the state board and received approval to go to 1,000 students. We started the school year with around 600 students enrolled. We're now down to about close to 500, just under 500 students are currently enrolled. And Jennifer, you may have an exact number today. Many of the students have transitioned back to on-site learning, but we still have a very large number of students enrolled. Jennifer, do you know the number?
Well, currently, I think we're about 430. It varies every day.
Okay. I was just wondering about the trend. My grandson is in Springdale schools, and they're kind of the fall semester. There are a lot more students that were virtual, and this semester they picked up quite a few that's going back and in. And as you said, it's fluctuating pretty much. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Baldwin, any questions?
I have no questions.
Ms. Newton?
I confess my ignorance in all things technology related, first of all. I'd like to know, I don't have any questions specific to the design, but how do you calculate square footage for virtual as opposed to on-site? See, that's a little bit confusing for me since they are virtual. It seems like a big shift. The students, the number of students going virtual, certainly I understand the need, but what's the shift based on how our calculations done by space?
Yes, ma'am, and that's a great question. As all of you know, we do have requirements, program requirements for space for on-site learning. If we build a new building, and we just finished building an elementary school, we were required to have 850 square feet for each classroom, and that was based on the number of students that could be in those classrooms and how much space each student would need. In a virtual academy, in a virtual environment, you're not really on a daily basis pressed for space, but there are times throughout the year where students will come to the campus and work, and that varies based on the students' motivation and interest. As long as students are progressing well and are successful, then there's very little need for them to be on site. But when we have testing, we have state testing that's coming up, and right now we're working on our plans for how we're gonna administer the state testing for 430 kids. And so space will be an issue, and we're going to be fine. We actually had originally planned to utilize some of the space at this location, this professional development center, anyway, to meet the needs of those kids. But Ms. Newton, you're right. It is a little bit confusing for virtual what the needs really are across the state, especially with all of the schools taking different approaches to meeting the needs of students virtually. But in our program, we do have times when students will come on site, and this space, it is large enough. Since it is also a professional development center, we have 3 large rooms where we provide training for teachers. Well, those can be dual purpose rooms. So when we need to use those spaces for our virtual academy students, we'll just cancel any programming that we have for teachers, and that space will be available to us. But it's the majority of the time we won't need all the space that we have. But when we do run into those critical times, this larger space will easily accommodate our needs.
That answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Wright McMurray?
No, I don't have any questions at this time.
Dr. Jeff Coate, my question was related to page 2 of your application, or your amendment request on the budget projection. It said in here the budget for K-8 students is $449 per student and $4,500 per student in grades 9 through 12. Can you kind of talk us through that?
Yes, ma'am, I sure can. I kind of touched on that a little bit just in the last question, a lot of schools have taken a lot of different approaches to meeting the needs of their students and in a virtual environment. And in the years past, we actually purchased a program. It's a Pearson program, and it was very expensive, but it was also very very high quality. It really met the needs of our students. It provided some great learning opportunities for our kids, completely in line with the state model, and very much connected to another charter that you're familiar with, which is Arkansas Connections Academy. Our program, that's how much it would cost for all of our students to enroll in this program. So we look a little bit different in our elementary school versus our high school. So in elementary school, our program is designed in a way where we're able to purchase online curriculum at a cheaper rate, but we also have dedicated personnel who are monitoring the success of our students, monitoring the progress of our students, and providing instruction for our students in different content areas. So when we have so many resources set aside to take care of our kids in personnel to take care of our elementary kids, we don't need as much detailed programming virtually, if that makes sense. But in secondary, you're looking at specialized content areas. You've got chemistry, the biologies, all of these really specialized fields. And we did not want to try to create a virtual academy where we were making our teachers do two jobs per se. We're our on-site campus teachers who are specialists in their field, providing instruction for on-site learning, and then also doing that for the students that are virtual. So we do spend a lot more money in secondary in those credit-bearing classes. But it is excellent programming. So a student in a high school that's in a chemistry class, they receive instruction from our Pearson provider. So they have a teacher that's providing instruction from the Pearson provider. They have an opportunity to reach out to a tutor, which is a different person that's available that we pay for, that's separate. And then in addition to that, we also in our district have personnel that is monitoring the success of those students and then providing interventions and support when needed. So you can see that we have a little bit more invested in secondary in terms of the programming, but the quality of education is the same. It's just how we've structured our programming from elementary school to secondary school. And all the things that we put in place, you can see, or I mentioned earlier, 93% success rate. You do get what you pay for in life, and I believe that. And while it does cost us a lot more money for our secondary students to receive the education that they're receiving, it's well worth it. Our students in our secondary program have a lot of opportunities, many more than what we have at our on-site learning. So it's with virtual, sky's the limit of what you can do with virtual. And I'm a huge fan, which is why we have a charter for our virtual academy. But I think that you can't go into it with the idea that you're going to try to that you're going to make it so efficient that you're not spending much money. If you want to have a good program, if you want to make sure that you have high success rates, and you want to be bragged about in the state, then you invest in that program, and that's what we're doing. Anything else, Jennifer or Nancy, that you would like to add to that question?
Well, I do think the biggest difference is staffing. And we had staff available to do that teaching in a virtual school, and that's all they do. And so they were existing staff, and with our numbers being down, we had enough staff to actually be able to handle the K-8 model. And so that's one reason why you see the huge discrepancy in cost. We weren't purchasing a Pearson teacher to deliver instruction. So our K-8 program is handled by our in-district teachers, but that is their only responsibility. They're not also teaching every day on site. So they are on site working, but they're not teaching on-site students. They're only teaching virtual students. So we had that ability this year to be able to handle that. And so that's one reason you see that huge discrepancy.
Thanks for clarifying that, because I don't want the general public or people considering digital learning models to look at that and think, wow, that's a cheap way to go. Let's all do that. Because there's a whole lot that goes into that that's not stated in those 3 sentences there. Thank you so much for that. Any other questions or comments?
I have a question or comment or a combination. Given that the intent of charters is to, I guess, develop best practices and be able to share them throughout the state, it certainly seems like this is a promising and inventive way to address. Is there a protocol, Ms. Kaufman, for sharing information about the success of not only this program, but other programs that seem to be moving in a direction of better meeting young people's needs? I have, knowledge for my area, and I'm sure it multiplies out over the state, of students that are consistently struggling with this new learning model based on what's going on. And the other side of it is, if there's a better mousetrap, then it seems that it should be aggressively promoted. And I don't know if that's a rivalry between schools, or, I don't want to know what this school is doing, but I don't know that the state doesn't have an obligation, maybe not an obligation, but have an opportunity to be able to share, because it does seem to be a program that's meeting, and has been, not just now, but over the past. But what I'm impressed by is the way it's transitioned into an unusual environment, and it doesn't seem to be many hiccups. So that's just for what it's worth. I know other charter programs that we talk about or virtual are facing a number of challenges that could be maybe diminished by, some type of sharing.
Ms. Newton, Dr. Jeff Coate has been serving on our Superintendent Advisory Committee as we have been working on our digital learning application, or Act 1240 waiver that went before the state board last week. That's going to give opportunities similar to what he has done through a district conversion charter, an opportunity for a school to have a program within their LEA. So we'll see how that rolls out over the next few months, but it was through conversations with superintendents like Dr. Jeff Coate that helped us to design that opportunity for school districts for the future. So I also assume, and Dr. Jeff Coate, you can speak to this, I'm assuming that other superintendents are reaching out to you and or your team?
Yes, ma'am. And Ms. Newton, you're exactly right. We've got a great program and it's very successful, and we want people to know about it because we want all schools to have an opportunity to have the same success that we have. Now we had a unique situation where we were very interested in this model before this model was needed, and so we've done a lot of work. I will tell you, we're not perfect, and we still are. We are making changes to our program frequently. We make adjustments, tweaks, but we do feel like we have a very solid system in place. We have shared our model with many schools. We do get contacted, and tomorrow morning, our team here, we will be visiting with Wilbur D. Mills co-op superintendents, and that's the Cabot, Searcy, BB, all in that area of the state. We'll be Zooming with them and sharing what we do in our district, so that maybe it will help them, help spur some ideas. And what we want is not only to share what we're doing, but we also want to hear what other schools are doing, because this is, while we all thought initially that this virtual model, especially during this pandemic, would quickly transition and go away, and everyone would come back to school, I really don't believe that that's going to be the case. I think what has happened is those families that have tried virtual, they realize the benefits of a virtual model. And while they may have never thought about it before, they're seeing that this is a model that really aligns with the needs of their family and whatever their situations are. And so I think that now that people have tried this virtual model, this concept, I think that it's just going to continue to grow, or at least be stable at a pretty close level of what it is today. So it's vitally important that we share the great things that are happening in our district, but then all of those districts that have created very successful virtual models, that they share their ideas and concepts as well, because we want to be a state that is known for quality education, and we can only get there by working together.
I for one, am looking to the day of the state the testing, and some decisions may be driven by that. But I've always wanted to say this: I'm waiting with bated breath to see, if this is actually something, or other interventions that might be successful in, because I think when we get the results of state tests in light of what's going on, it's going to be helter-skelter in a sense, in terms of trying to determine how we address what we're likely to maybe see. And I might be surprised, but I don't know. But just it's those approaches and best practices, I think that we have an obligation to embrace and promote.
I agree.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Dr. Williams, go ahead.
I was just noticing on your accountability sheet that there wasn't a lot of diversity reflected, given that there are certain scores were not listed, which is what we all understand the reason for that. Is this reflected, are the demographics reflective of the school itself?
Yes, sir, it is.
District? Okay.
Yes, sir. It's almost spot on for our demographics in our district.
Okay, thank you.
And I want to say this too. I know we've talked a little bit about our program, and we're only going to brag about the good things. We've had some struggles, but it does take a commitment from these two individuals that are here on our screen. That's part of my team, Nancy Robbins, Jennifer Feeney. They have been phenomenal at really developing this program and taking the time to make it great. Miss Feeney has had. We're a virtual academy, but if I look at all of my building principals, everyone, and I ask each one of them, how many home visits have you done in this last month? I can tell you, Miss Feeney has done more home visits than any principal that I have, and you wouldn't think that with it being a virtual academy, but when there are students that are not on task, not on track for success, she has just done a phenomenal job of getting out there, getting after those kids, and helping those families get the resources they need to be successful. So it takes you can have a great idea, a good concept, a good model, but if you don't have the people to make it a success, then it's not going to go anywhere. And I just appreciate these two individuals. They've been phenomenal building our program, and I get to go out and celebrate and share the great things that we're doing. But it's the people, not the programs. It's always the people.
Mm-hmm. How do you all think you all are doing? I noticed you all had a letter grade, ESSA index score of an A, which is outstanding. What are you all projecting for this year? This is a COVID year. Things are not perfect this year. Any thoughts on what your expectations are from an ESSA index perspective?
Well, I'm going to let Ms. Feeney speak to that, because she knows our kids and she knows our program. She knows where we are today. So Ms. Feeney, what are your thoughts on where we are with performance today?
So over the last 3 years, our performance on the ESSA report card has really aligned with our course completion rate. And so last year, I believe we were about 98% pass rate on all of our courses, K through 12. First semester, we were really excited to be at 93% with the large number of kids that we had enrolled. And so if that continues, if that trend continues for us, then we are hoping, and we truly believe that we will probably be pretty successful again this year, because the last 3 years, it's almost directly aligned. Our course pass rate and our ESSA has directly aligned. So we believe we're still going in that trend. And I guess time will tell in the spring how that goes for us. But our students are completing their work. And, that's the key to our kids being successful is is to be successful in their courses. And if they're not completing the work, they're not getting the education they need. So we do believe we're on track. It's a lot of kids, so we'll just have to see how it works out, and hopeful they all come on site to do their testing.
Okay. Thank you. Good answer. Mhm.
Any other questions or comments from the panel? I'm ready for a motion when you're ready.
I move that the amendment request be approved.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Williams and a second by Ms. Newton to approve the amendment request. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Ms. Webb, do we need to go in and fill out our voting sheet? Okay. Okay. If you'll check your email, panel members, you should have a voting sheet. Mr. Baldwin, if you'd like to read your comment, please.
Yes, thank you. I voted to support the request. Obviously, this is an excellent program. I commend everybody involved in the program for doing such a great job for the kids. And I think the additional space is needed, as you all have described.
Thank you.
Ms. Newton?
Okay, the request addresses the need based on the increase of enrollment and teaching supports.
Thank you. Dr. Williams?
I support the motion. The additional space is needed due to an increase in enrollment. Also, there are no academic concerns.
Thank you. Ms. Wright McMurray?
I wrote, River Valley has a proven track record of providing a quality virtual education for their students. This model can serve as a best practice for other schools as they are addressing their virtual needs during the COVID pandemic.
All right. Well, congratulations, Dr. Jeffcoat, and we look forward to hearing more about your program and more success for your students.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate your time this morning and appreciate your commitment to the field of education. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Panel members, unless you have additional business, we have no other business, and therefore I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Have a great day. Thank you for today.
You too. Thank you.